Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a diplomatic flare-up that was sparked by just a single, really powerful claim. It's a fascinating story about carefully chosen words, high-stakes international relations, and, the tough choices a rising power has to make on the world stage. Okay, so this is where it all kicks off. The whole story begins with this pretty startling statement coming out of the White House from then-President Trump. He flat out claimed that Prime Minister Modi had agreed India, quote, will not be buying oil from Russia. And then he adds, now we've got to get China to do the same thing. I mean, right away, this puts India in a really tough spot, making it seem like a huge policy shift was decided for them on Washington's terms. So what was the immediate context here, and why did this one claim cause such a stir in diplomatic circles all over the world? Right, so this wasn't some private, off-the-cuff remark. Nope, this was a very public declaration made directly from the White House, and the intention behind it was crystal clear. Announce a major change in India's policy, and then use that as leverage to pressure other countries, like China, to fall in line. It was a classic international power move. So let's move on and see how India responded, because this is where things get really, really interesting. Instead of some big, direct confrontation, New Delhi chose a much, much more nuanced approach. Now, check out the language here. It's so careful, it's almost surgical. India didn't issue a flat-out denial. They didn't come out and say, that's not true. Instead, a spokesperson simply claimed to be unaware of that conversation. This is a classic diplomatic tool, what we're calling a soft denial, and it's brilliant because it avoids directly contradicting a world leader, but at the same time, it refuses to confirm their story. And get this! This wasn't a one-off thing. The source material we're looking at actually points to a pattern. A very similar tactic was apparently used before to handle claims about a supposed U.S. mediation in an operation codenamed Sindoor. So this really suggests a deliberate, thought-out strategy from New Delhi for how to manage a famously unpredictable U.S. administration. So you might be asking, why be so cautious? Why not just set the record straight and say what happened? Well, this gets us right to the heart of the dilemma facing India's foreign policy strategists today. India is basically walking a diplomatic tightrope. I mean, think about it. On one side, you've got the huge potential of a trade deal with the U.S. and a shared interest in balancing China's growing influence. But on the other side, you've got the challenge of dealing with an administration often described as chimerical, which just means unpredictable, inconsistent, all while trying to maintain your own independent foreign policy, especially on really sensitive topics like buying Russian oil. It's a tough spot to be in. But here's the thing. The editorial we're examining makes a powerful argument that this balancing act, this kind of strategic ambiguity, it might not be a sustainable strategy in the long run, especially not for a nation with global ambitions. So the key point the editorial makes is this call for something it calls moral clarity. And what does that mean? Well, it's the idea that to be a true global leader, a country's positions can't just be about reacting to pressure. They have to be grounded in clear, publicly stated principles and values. And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of the whole argument. The author is suggesting that the real audience for India's foreign policy isn't just other world leaders, but India itself. The point is that real global power isn't just about your economy or your military. It's also moral. And that demands speaking with a clear, consistent voice on the world stage. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative question. In a world this complex, is strategic ambiguity just a necessary tool for survival? Or is it actually a barrier that holds a nation back from reaching its full potential as a true global leader? It's a tough question, and it's one that every rising power, eventually, has to answer for itself.